Welcome to Wrestling is Fiction, episode 10. Big episode for us. We have a special guest coming in to talk about Clash of the Castle with us. Obviously, some big surprises on Raw. The Wyatt Sick6 is back. Seth Rollins is back. And we have to tell you about our own Raw and SmackDown in the Wrestling is Fiction universe. Let's get into it.
What's up, everyone? Before we get into today's episode, it's time to go through a few of our sponsors. First off, you can head to darkstarshady.com/wrestlingisfiction to find links to everywhere that you can listen to us. From there, you can head to our sponsors page where you'll find a few different links. First off, you'll find the official sponsor of Wrestling is Fiction, Gengar's TCG shop on TikTok. He sells Pokemon cards through his TikTok shop, and he also does live rip and ships where you can have him open cards live on a stream for his audience and mail you your pulls afterwards. I've also partnered with a company called Dubby. They make gaming energy drinks. If you go to dubby.gg and use code DARKSTAR10, you'll get 10% off your next order. I recommend the Galaxy Grenade flavor, which is watermelon, guava, and lime. I bought a few of their shaker bottles and multiple tubs of their energy drink powders, and I take a drink to work with me almost every day, and it gives me the jitterless energy I need to get through each day. Let's get to today's episode.
All right, welcome back, everyone. Big show today. We got our friend John in the house. You can listen to his podcast, Joncast podcast, and I assume he is in all the major platforms you get your podcast in. So, starting out, big week at Clash in the Castle, and I think it might have even been topped by Monday night's Raw. But I guess we should start with SmackDown, and for the 400th time, KO seems to be fighting the Bloodline. Are you guys getting tired of this story at all, or is it just me?
I'm at a point in my life where I just don't need to see KO involved with the Bloodline whatsoever. We can move on from that for now, right?
Yeah, I think Zach and I talked about this a little bit. Kevin Owens last year was annoyed at Sammy being a part of the Bloodline, Sammy fighting the Bloodline after he left. I don't know why he keeps getting himself back into this, and I think it's time for him to take a step back. But I do like that Cody's getting involved with it, not necessarily because I think the Bloodline should be standing up to him, but Cody hasn't been main eventing. He's been earlier in the cards on SmackDown, and I'm hoping if they give Solo this push against him, that means Cody will be closing out these shows going forward.
Yeah, I don't mind I like Kevin Owens. I like seeing him on SmackDown, but and it's not like he always loses. It would be different if this was a rivalry where he wins a couple. I mean, I think the only match I remember him winning is when him and Sammy won the tag team titles, and since then it's kind of just been somehow he gets beat down every week, and if Randy Orton's there, he gets saved.
Yeah, I think the problem is he likes fighting, but he doesn't really know how to win. He just wants to be a part of the fight.
Ain't that the truth?
No, but I honestly, we talked about this earlier in our podcast, one of our first episodes. We were hoping KO and Randy would be a tag team, but I didn't think that tag team would be going up against the Bloodline stop just because they have nothing else to do.
I would have liked Randy to just do something more important. I would like to see Randy and KO feud better than them fighting the Bloodline. It's just, the Bloodline could be doing anything right now. It's just KO, I just feel like he has so much more he could be doing right now, right?
Do you guys feel like we're kind of in a holding pattern with the Bloodline till we get our tribal chief back, and I guess eventually Jimmy Uso, wherever he is?
I feel like that about both. Anything that has to do with Roman, The Rock, Cody, and the Bloodline, all of them are just stuck in a holding pattern right now. It's hard to get invested in Cody's feuds because I kind of feel like we already know that he's not losing the title, anytime soon. I mean, unless they decide to say, hey, you know what, let's let's just do let's drop the belt, have him like a short feud. Like I would have liked to see AJ win at Clash at the Castle, not to jump ahead, and like just do a short of, hey, he's chasing AJ just for a few months, just to make it interesting, you know?
Yeah, kind of like a throwback to back when Brock Lesnar and Kurt Angle were tossing that title back and forth, where that title would even change hands on a SmackDown because they had that ridiculous hour-long Iron Man match on free TV. Like, there's nothing really going on. I feel like SmackDown as a whole, nothing's really happening. You don't have Roman. I don't think they were planning on Jimmy being hurt. Cody doesn't have anyone really good to feud with. Logan Paul's got the U.S. title just held captive in his house somewhere. So there's just not a lot of progression.
I'm viewing this SmackDown card, the Glasgow SmackDown, and not kind of insignificant. I don't want to say storylines. You had DIY trying to split A-Town Down Under, which looks like it's about to happen. And other than that, we get LA Knight breaking into Logan Paul's house. That's the second house he's broken into now in pursuit of a rivalry.
Is this a thing now?
It feels very much like an old school Attitude Era thing where they were fighting in supermarkets in each other's houses. So I kind of like the LA Knight in Logan Paul's house.
Yeah, I think LA Knight got lucky that he got there when he did, and he wasn't like ambushed by secret security trying to clear Logan Paul to meet with Trump at the same time. I have figured when Logan had Trump as a host that LA Knight would come interfere with the podcast and jump into that just to get some really big buzz.
Yeah, maybe he couldn't talk Trump into it.
Yeah, that's an interesting mix, but it's getting a lot of eyes on WWE because whatever your feelings are, Donald Trump his second TikTok ever is featuring Logan Paul in the U.S. title.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What a time to be alive, guys.
Yeah. And after that, my TikTok just keeps showing me videos of Donald Trump clotheslining Vince McMahon, so the algorithm does something.
Uh-huh.
All right. With that, I guess we can move on to Clash because I'm not seeing anything too significant we need to talk about on that SmackDown. So
Not a lot happened, but I just want to say I love Chelsea Green. I just love Chelsea Green's character. She's so annoying. I love her so much.
Yeah.
I'm with you 100% on that.
Yeah. If anyone needed lessons on how to be the annoying heel, that's the gal they should go to. So Clash at the Castle, any big surprises for you guys? I feel like you're going to say one with the tag team championships, but other than that, did anything stand out to you?
It was just a boring card, nothing happened.
Damian Priest almost lost an ankle.
Man, seeing that lava. Oh.
It was so bad, I almost thought it was on purpose.
Yeah, the only reason I knew it wasn't is because of how quick Drew popped up with like worry on his face. And he started to help him before he was like, no, don't help him. Kick the shit out of him. Start kicking him while he's upside down.
Drew was the worst seller of that I've ever seen. He was like, oh, I guess I'll kick him. I don't know.
First, he's like, let me make sure he's okay. Let me just look really shocked and concerned, and then half-heartedly kick before I start yelling about getting him in the ring.
He's like, I gotta get him out. I gotta pin him to get the title.
I love that he
that were Corey Graves and Michael Cole.
Yeah, they were selling that really good. I do like that he helped him up, got him on his feet, then immediately chopped him off of the side. He's like, I'm not going to wait to see if his leg will hold up to throwing him off of this. Let's just throw him.
Mm-hmm. And props to Damian for just being able to do the whole match.
Damian finished out that match. He looked really good. We obviously did our predictions last week, Zach.
Yeah, we were way more wrong than I thought.
Yeah, I was kind of hopeful that Piper Niven would get that push. I figured something had to change on that show, and I figured it would be the women's title, but Bailey retained, and it ended up being Isla and Alba that took the championship home.
I did my prediction on TikTok, and the match that I got wrong was Chad Gable. That was the match that I just felt like Chad was going to win. Like, I think we all believed that, and he didn't. I don't know how I was able to get the women's tag team title right, but I take it.
Yeah, they had to let one Scottish person win on that card, and those weren't the two I expected. But
Yeah,
I guess we're 0 for 3 on that. We both picked Chad Gable too.
yeah.
And I want to talk about that match when Steven gets done.
I was going to say, I was really, really shocked that Chad didn't take the title.
I'm not shocked. It doesn't bother me that he didn't win. It bothers me the way the match ended. Nobody came out there looking strong. Sammy doesn't look like a strong IC champion because there was like this weird interference. Not even interference. Maxine getting hurt. And then Sammy has to take advantage. It felt like Sammy did the heel thing. It should have been Gable taking advantage of the interference. I mean, that's kind of what we were all expecting. And now, apparently, I don't know which one killed him. The rabbit might have murdered him on Raw. So maybe never to be heard from again.
Yeah, I just figured with all the contract negotiations going, with all of the rumors happening, with the fact that we did come off a huge, long Intercontinental Championship reign, I thought it was Chad's time. He had his, 5th shot at the title. It was built up perfectly to seem like he was taking the championship, and he'd go a little overboard and lose Alpha Academy because of how obsessed he's getting. But Sammy took the title, and kind of it felt out of character the way he won. It felt like he wouldn't want to take advantage that way. I don't know. It was just a weird ending to that match, but I don't know. The whole card for the whole show was a little boring almost.
Yeah, I didn't mind. Every other match, I felt like the opponent and the champion looked pretty strong. Other than that Sammy match.
I didn't like the end of the AJ Styles Cody Rhodes match.
Oh, I don't blame you.
I enjoyed the match as a whole, but the end, I just didn't like it because I just felt as long as we watch AJ Styles, that just feels so out of character for him. The way he just, I'm done. I'm like, I think they could have done something better. Because I understand he's the heel, and usually it's just the cowardly way of a heel getting out. But because of how long AJ's been around and his character, how he's in a match, I would expect him to not quit as hard as Cody's not quitting. But
yeah, AJ Styles has wrestled in like every country there is wrestling, and I don't think I've ever seen him just I quit. And I think, what did they say coming in? He was 3-0 and I quit matches in his career coming in, and Cody Rhodes had never been in one. But he got hit with the stairs anyway.
Yeah, I didn't think he'd quit in that spot because it was almost immediately after he was like, "Screw you, I'm not quitting." And it took him all of 5 seconds to turn around and be like, "You know what? Actually, I changed my mind. I think that's enough for me. You're scary. I don't want America to come after me like this. You hit me too hard, I'm gonna fall off the flat earth."
John, I want your opinion on this because I talked to Steven about this. I thought I was gonna like the I quit stipulation, but I think I'd much prefer AJ and Cody with how talented they both are as wrestlers. Just a regular match in the ring. Like that match in France was so good just on its own. And I thought the I quit kind of took away from a lot of their abilities.
yeah, I feel the same way because I feel like once it was announced as an I Quit match, there was no way in the world that Cody was losing. I felt like something like a street fight, something like that, no DQ, something along those lines. Let Gallows and Anderson get involved as well, something like that. Since they've been hovering in the background, I think that would have been better. Just hey, let them get the solid pinfall, and just because the match they had in France was so good, I felt like they probably could have one upped it.
And the Gallows and just the whole OC thing. I mean, they're down in NXT losing matches, and then they come up to SmackDown, and they're supposed to look like these like strong guys behind AJ. And then, like you said, they weren't even involved in an I Quit match with no disqualifications. It made no sense to me.
Them themselves is confusing as well, because the last we saw of them prior to this is AJ is like, nah, I'm done with you guys, and then all of a sudden we're just friends again, yay! And then Michin just gets left out of it, like.
Well, and then you got Michin smacking Nia Jax in the face for talking about AJ Styles, so it was like, what changed?
Yeah, I think somewhere in this universe they needed to have like one backstage segment where you at least see all of them walking into a room together or something where you can kind of assume that they've talked about things and patched things up. But yeah, I don't think they plan everything as well as they should sometimes. The other thing is, I agree, the I Quit match, it kind of ruined the match, kind of gave away the ending. And honestly, if they were going to have something so brutal where they wanted more than a regular singles match, but they didn't want any interference, they should have done a cage match. Make it so there is a reason why the OC can't come out and help AJ Styles. Make it a little up the stakes, but don't give us a gimmick that you know that we're all going to be able to guess the end.
Well, at one point in the match, I thought it was hilarious. Cody passes out, and AJ's just, he's dead. I won. And the rest, like, he has to say, I quit. It's like, okay, well.
Yeah,
guys,
AJ should have just beat him until he was dead then at that point. Can't quit if he's dead.
Well, that's the thing. We see Cody Rhodes, and if you remember the Brock Lesnar rivalry, one of the PLE matches, he literally passed out from a submission hold. So it was like, as long as we've known Cody Rhodes in WWE, there's no way he says I quit. So, yeah, kind of a predictable ending there.
Yeah, and also that, once again, almost like we thought with France, it really caps off their story. They used to like to do a lot of like trilogy matches, like three matches in a row, but where can they send AJ after that? He's given his all in a really good singles match. He literally quit against Cody in this I Quit match. How do they keep him looking strong and in any kind of main event picture when he was Cody's first feud and he's been beaten so thoroughly?
I guess they can throw him back into LA Knight and Logan Paul potential rivalry. I don't know. I feel like the LA Knight and AJ Styles rivalry was really built up, and then one singles match, and they're like, okay.
I don't know if we're in the internet wrestling community, but he is going to New Japan, or Noah right now, Japan.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, he is taking a step back. I kind of expected him to go do something in TNA for a few weeks.
I feel like that's still on the table.
Yeah,
I really feel like that's still on the table.
I'd be shocked if he didn't want
to. Like give him the final run that he never got in TNA.
Yeah, give him the final run. I'm surprised he's not going over there with the WWE title to kind of gloat over them, but I guess WWE doesn't want to give him anything.
If it was anyone but Cody Rhodes, I think, like, they gave Cody a 2-year story to get this championship. So, you know, and when The Rock came to the first episode after WrestleMania and said, you know, I'll be seeing you at the next WrestleMania, essentially, it's kind of like, okay, well, I guess we can expect Cody to hold that title for a year. I mean, they don't need the title for them to fight, but it ups the stakes.
Yeah, and that pushes off the Roman and Rock match once again, because The Rock is full on said, I'm not coming back for anyone but Cody.
Speaking of Roman Reigns and returns, I think we all kind of keep our ear to the ground about rumors and such. And Seth Rollins, man, I was not expecting a return that early. And I don't think the Corpus Christi crowd was either, because they kind of were like stunned that was the music they heard open Raw.
I feel like under Triple H, WWE has gotten way better at keeping secrets.
Yeah, they're a lot better at keeping secrets, and they're a lot better at putting out fake rumors that get picked up so the real stuff doesn't.
Like, I'm questioning if Ricochet is actually, like, his contract is actually ending.
Yeah, like, I even saw a lot of rumors going around of people just, like, floating the idea. Are they just making it seem like he's leaving so he can have his big return in a few months? But until he shows up on any wrestling show, I'm assuming he's going to pop up again one day and just murder Braun Breaker in his sleep.
Speaking of murder, Braun Breaker about murdered 3 people on Raw. I mean, that spear is just...
It's so scary.
I'm a little annoyed at how early Braun is getting a title push with Sammy. Like, I get it. They want to make him fight more and more competitive people, but yeah, you know, Sheamus seems to be the stepping stone for people lately.
And it also just feels like Ilja just disappeared. Like,
yeah, they made him look real strong, and where's Ilja been?
I mean, you saw how he was shaking that first week when Ricochet got speared. He's somewhere terrified of Braun Breaker, apparently. But no, I've got 2 different thoughts on Braun Breaker coming in. Like, I don't know that I'm upset with him getting an Intercontinental title shot. I don't think he really deserves it yet, or the story is there. But I'm glad they're giving him a mid-card push instead of going straight to main event. I was really afraid they'd use him just like Brock Lesnar and have him go straight for the top title, only ever win those top titles, and everything else was beneath him kind of thing.
Yeah, and poor Sheamus. Looks like he's never going to get his Intercontinental Championship to put on his mantle because, you know, of the 3 in that rivalry, I don't think he's the one coming out with a title. It's going to be Sammy or Braun.
I could almost see a triple threat for the title where Sheamus gets the win over Sammy to keep Braun winning, like looking strong, and then Braun just destroys him the next week for it.
I'm here for the underdog story.
I've been surprised with, I think we discussed this in another episode, Steven, the pop that Sheamus has been getting. It was like he went away for a while and everyone, you know, he was in the Brawling Brutes and that kind of got old. Kind of glad that went away. But then he comes back and he's loved again.
Yeah, I even have...
Save Drew McIntyre, though.
I even have someone on TikTok who found one of my old WWE card videos where I opened up a Sheamus and they're trying to buy it off of me. So I should probably respond to that
guy. Yeah.
I need the money. I should probably respond to that guy.
Yeah, speaking of Drew McIntyre, I have a theory.
Okay.
I think he knew the Wyatt Sick6 were there. He was like, I'm going to pretend to quit and get the hell out of here. Even Jey Uso was like, I'm glad I was in the stands when these people came out here.
Yeah.
Before we go into that, just Clash at the Castle, that whole ending was just so fun for me. Like, as it happened, I had messaged Steven about it, and I was just like, you know, like, I'm just a human being thinking, what just happened? Like, so CM Punk was just in Scotland with a referee shirt in the back. And then, you know, a few minutes later, right after I messaged him, WWE on Twitter posts a whole video of him just watching TV backstage, hanging out. And I'm like, this is a good time to be alive right now.
I had to find a way to explain why he was in Scotland and how he got a shirt. Where he's just at the point where he's like, oh no, the official's down. Oh no, give me your shirt that you're wearing right now. I got to get out there. I'm not going to send a real referee. Give me your shirt. I'll do it. I promise.
I mean, I get the ref wasn't watching TV and didn't really know that what was going on, but I'm pretty sure you're not supposed to just hand superstars striped shirts, regardless of what they need it for.
Yeah. Apparently, unless your name is CM Punk.
Yeah.
I do enjoy that he got out there in the referee shirt, but he still wasn't the one to finish the match out. He left the ring and let the actual official call it.
Well, let's say he does the 3 count. It wouldn't have mattered. It's not an official. Like, even if you counted the 3 for Drew, which I think would have even been better if Drew thought he won.
Yeah. He calls the 3 count. Drew stands up, puts his hands up, and looks around. He's like, "Oh, that's CM Punk right there. What the hell?" But yeah,
I'm tired of Drew being the only one getting screwed over by CM Punk. He hasn't got him back in a while. Since Royal Rumble, he really hasn't got him.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm kind of enjoying him losing. I don't know if I'm not as big a fan of him as some people are. I like him. I think he's fun. His character's good, but I like seeing him just lose and get angry. So that was a big place. That was a big loss for him, and I'm really interested to see how he comes back after that.
I loved his short promo. They chant CM Punk, and he's just like, you know what? I'm done.
I'm out of here. I don't have to say this.
I do have to say this is another moment that The Rock ruined, though, because I think this would have went even more intense if we hadn't gotten The Rock presenting a sword to Drew McIntyre saying that he's re-signed with WWE. I don't know if I'm just on the internet too much these days that I can't not see these things, but if they hadn't put that video out and people thought that his contract was ending right now and he actually had a chance to disappear, I think it would have been a lot more fun.
I mean, I think we know Drew's a top. Like, he's booked at the top right now. And the best wrestling company in the world. I don't think he's going anywhere, but I do think he's using CM Punk's own ploys against him, pretending to quit and go away so he can finally get him back. If CM Punk is ever going to wrestle again, seems like he's been hurt for 15 years, but I don't know.
Yeah, I just think if they hadn't announced him re-signing already, with how many different partnerships WWE is making, it would have been cool to hear him say, "Hey, I quit WWE." See him pop up in a couple other promotions and wonder if he is coming back or not. Hopefully they still do put him out there and let him have some other matches outside of WWE before he comes back, just to kind of make it seem more real that he's gone for a bit.
You made me think, what if they go the route that he comes back in TNA and he goes for the TNA title and CM Punk cost him that title too?
Wherever you go, I will follow.
You're not getting any championships. I don't care what company.
So, speaking of Raw, I'm kind of curious your thoughts on this. So we get Seth Rollins back, says he's going to compete in Money in the Bank, then gets his title shot. Is there a path in your minds that Seth wins that match at Money in the Bank?
For me, no. Only because I just don't. I feel like Gunther is going to win at SummerSlam, and because we know this match is happening, I don't really see a point to take it off of Damian Priest. Like, I just feel like he can be the silver the head on the platter, right? I don't really see a reason to have Seth win and then lose to Gunther if that is the way that it ends up going. I just feel like Gunther is going to win that title.
I think the only reason Seth could win the title would be if Damian is more hurt from Clash at the Castle than they're letting on. He seemed like he walked out okay. He obviously finished that match, but I did see a few places online saying that he did have some kind of injury, but it wasn't as bad as they could have been. So the only reason I see him losing is if they need a strong opponent for Gunther and Damian's not quite up to it. But in universe, the way we see it and watch it, if we're not thinking about anything else, I don't think Seth can take the title. Like, I don't think that he needs the title or that Damian. Like, I think Damian would put in too much effort to keeping it from Seth in particular. He full on said he wanted to cash in on Seth. He wanted to beat Seth, so I don't think he's going to say that and lose to him.
I'm a little disappointed personally. I would have loved to have seen Seth in a ladder match again. I know he's a little bit older now, but I still feel like he's really fun to watch in those matches. But I agree. I don't see it either. I think the promised title shot from King of the Ring is kind of almost hindering the booking that they can do with that title right now. I mean, I guess you can have Seth win and Gunther beat him, but it doesn't make a ton of sense to me. Damian loses to Gunther. I mean, that's the king of the ring, longest reigning IC champion ever. So I think that keeps Damian kind of in that top bill too if he does lose that title to Gunther.
In my booking head, I'm thinking that this is all going to be built to turning Damian Priest babyface, because I feel like Finn Balor and Damian Priest is definitely going to have some type of feud. And I kind of feel like Money in the Bank, probably Judgment Day, is going to be the reason why Damian ends up winning. And he's going to have this whole, thing of, I don't want your interference. I don't need you guys' help. And I kind of feel like when we get to SummerSlam, it's going to be Finn Balor is probably going to be the reason why Gunther ends up winning. And then we're gonna go into a feud with Damian and Finn Balor. Like, that's how I feel like things could happen and play out. So
Yeah, I mentioned it to Zach, but I liked the moment where Finn was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna take the Money in the Bank briefcase and get that championship," and Damian's like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna cash in on Cody and take the WWE championship." And they all kind of just had a moment where they just laughed together. But like, he's thinking like, you know what? Do you know how many times you came out with your briefcase and threw off my championship matches, and how many times I could have beat Seth if it wasn't for you? Like, if they're not building towards Damian and Finn like breaking apart and having a feud together, I don't know what the point is.
I even think right now, even though Finn Balor lost that match, I think he's still gonna end up in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mentioned that to Steven the other day too. I was like, there's no way they're leaving Finn off this card. And I personally hope they don't. I want to see him in that match.
Yeah, it feels like the King of the Ring qualifiers. They shouldn't have some of these people matched up together in a way that some of the top stars should be going forward aren't. Like, there's no reason why Finn and Jay both couldn't be in the Money in the Bank, aside from the fact that both of them realistically should be winning, and Jay's gonna win it and probably lose his cash in because he's not getting any.
No, him or Chad Gable never get their singles title.
I'm calling it now. Jay wins the briefcase and he's cashing in on Gunther and taking the title. Gunther's gonna win the World Heavyweight Championship, and Jay's just gonna immediately be like, "I didn't."
Demon Finn to the Wyatt Six.
Hmm.
Then he really takes the title from Damian after the Wyatt Six murder Judgment Day.
God,
I just don't. I don't know if the Wyatt Six is staying on Raw. Right, this is their debut, but we kind of already have the Judgment Day, which is kind of your. I don't want to say horror characters, but more evil heel faction. And then you give Raw the Wyatt Six, and then you get Seth returning the same day. It's like, what? Are we going to do anything for SmackDown?
I've got to say, this is probably the worst time Seth could have come back, because I was watching it live. I missed the first 10 minutes, and I think I saw one person post on Twitter that Seth came back. And at the end of Raw, not a single mention of Seth was out there. Everything was just the Wyatt Six. The Wyatt Six, and then like a bunch of pictures of Maxine being carried by Otis. But like, what a horrible night to come back. Imagine he gets his big pop, and he's just completely overshadowed. And possibly dead. Who knows? We don't quite know everyone who died.
I think we kind of knew that the Wyatt Six was coming that Raw. I mean, the countdown was there and everything. So, yeah. You do and he opened the show, so you really forgot that he came back.
Yeah, by the time the 3-hour show ends, you've forgotten the first hour and a half, 2 hours, and then you have that great 5-minute exit to the show, which I think I watched the Wyatt Six's return 4 or 5 times now.
Are you a clue hunter?
Honestly, I didn't get invested in following all the clues and QR codes. I follow a few people that posted everything. I'm going to be completely honest. When Bray Wyatt was in WWE, I wasn't following it as much. I saw some of the headlines. I saw some of the storylines. I'd watch a PLE here and there. But I didn't get invested in his character the way some people got to. I've gone back and watched some of his stuff. I've read all about it. So I wasn't sure how I'd feel about the Wyatt Six. I'm still hoping they actually get a good storyline and they have a purpose, not just to show up, but what a great entrance for them.
I think, the Fiend had some classic matches with Seth Rollins, and I think them coming back the same day might be a reason. Seth loses to Damian, you got to do something with him. Is that the Wyatt Six? Um, but yeah, the I was talking about I went back and watched that 5 minute. I don't know what you want to call it. I don't think you call it a promo. I think you called it assault.
Murder scene.
Yeah. Uh, and I was looking for clues in the background. I was like, I'm wondering if they're leaving a trail, just because Bray Wyatt has, I think, all of us conditioned that like he's telling you something that we're not seeing.
Yeah. I do have a question for both of you guys. You can both answer this one. They're saying it's the Wyatt Six. Obviously, there was only 5 of them. Are they bringing Alexa Bliss back into this group later, or is the 6th member supposed to be just spiritually Bray Wyatt? What do you think?
I've been dealing hard with that question myself, and I've been leaning towards that. I think I would like for spiritually that 6th member to be Bray Wyatt, and it's like I'm not completely against it because I kind of also view it as if they do bring Alexa Bliss back, you can have them go after the women's tag team champions, right? And then also it's not like Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross were a team prior to this as well, so them reuniting like this as well is kind of it's also interesting. So for me, I think I would like that spiritual 6 member to be Bray Wyatt, but if they do decide to bring Alexa Bliss or even somebody else, I wouldn't be against it as long as it makes sense.
Yeah, I'm with John on this. I think it's definitely Alexa Bliss, although I'm trying to think of traditional large factions in the past. It is odd, I feel like, to have 2 women wrestlers in a faction, but just with her history with Bray, and then, like John mentioned, the Nikki Cross connection, I think we definitely see her, hopefully by SummerSlam.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised she didn't come back with them just because she had been teasing online, "Hey, I'm working out again. I'm ready to return again." So I think everyone assumed that she would reappear with them. But I wouldn't be against her just reappearing as herself away from them and going on a solo run as a women's superstar, and keeping just Bray Wyatt as that member there. I saw
I
a
was
few
the
people
biggest
on.
fan. Oh, okay.
No, I would say I saw a few people online saying if they can get permission for it, some people would like to see some AI Bray Wyatt, just like voiceovers, just like kind of orchestrating them in the background. I think that might be going a little too far. Um, but I think just having the idea of him be a part of the group still is enough.
I I don't know if I like Bray Wyatt necessarily being a part of it, because they really, in that promo, made Uncle Howdy clearly the leader. And I think if they want to book Bo Dallas as the leader of this strong group, they need to leave Bray out of it.
I think like for me, I have like this sort of issue with the Wyatt Six because I'm I like the group, right? But I feel like this group is Bray's vision. And since Bray is not here to orchestrate that vision, I kind of feel like down right now we're enjoying it. It's good. But when egos start to get in the way, everything kind of starts to change. And that's what I hope doesn't happen. Like they just allow this to exist, treat it in a good way. If Bo Dallas is, I can't even feel like Bo Dallas as a leader, depending on how we're talking about, because even with Bo Dallas, I've seen him be this Believe character, and that's where I'm kind of stuck in my head with him. So I'm just also kind of in this iffy range of what is he going to give me? I know what Bray Wyatt gave me as Bray Wyatt is his character, but now Bo Dallas is being somebody that Bray Wyatt created for him. Does he have that ability to, sell me like Bray Wyatt sold me? So whoever is in charge of writing this, I just hope that we can keep this consistent vision.
That's fair. That's the one thing I did take away from everything I read about and rewatched is Bray Wyatt was incredibly creative and talented. And I'm just really hopeful that if this group is going to be around for a while, they have enough to give it substance. They have enough to make it worth having done. I don't want to see just a really cool return for all of them and then the storyline just fall apart.
And I think about the members in that group. They really need it. I mean, Joe Gacy's been in the business, I think, for almost 2 decades. Nikki Cross has kind of been around, but you haven't seen her get a push. But I think they have the benefit, obviously, of Bo Dallas being Bray's brother. I'm not going to say he's as creative because it sounds like that no one really was. But, I'm hoping that Bray left a couple unfinished ideas that they're going to kind of play out.
I just hope we don't get another Retribution.
I'm gonna be honest, guys. I'm just excited for Dexter Lumis to be back on TV. He's such a creepy character, even not being part of the Wyatt Six. I'm so excited for him to be around again.
Yeah, he didn't need a mask.
I'm even if this group doesn't stick the way they hope, I hope that the people in the group get to have a little bit more TV time. There's no reason for I know Dexter Lumis, he was on a television show, he has a wrestling school, but there was no reason for him to get drafted up to the main roster and then never appear on TV again, other than I think one backstage segment with DIY. And I think Nikki Cross creepily drawing him into a picture she gave Johnny and Candice.
Yeah, the Nikki Cross, they were selling her on the Wyatt Six for a year. I mean, when she went mute and kind of just walked around in the background, I was like, man, Nikki really built into this character, waiting for the rest of the guys to join this group.
Yeah, the Battle Royale where she just didn't move, got eliminated, just stock still the entire time. She had nothing else to do, and she was hoping for this so badly.
Yeah, I give it to her. I don't know how well I could play that character of being motionless in a ring full of wrestlers. You just have to take your bumps and not be able to do anything.
She in this YS6 thing, she was the one who genuinely creeped me out.
Oh yeah, that crawling out there, I was like, yeah, she did a good job on it.
I got flashbacks to when I was a little kid and I was told I wasn't allowed to watch The Ring.
Oh yeah,
and I did anyways. As a kid, me and my cousins watched it, and
wish you
we
did.
literally stayed up all night just freaking out about this girl crawling out of the television. And I got just vivid flashbacks as she crawled out, and I'm like, honestly, it's been decades, but this is still creepy, and that's what it made me think of.
I told myself that was cool. It wasn't that creepy, the whole Wyatt Six thing. And I went to bed immediately after watching it. I was walking in the dark. I was like, all right, I don't want Nikki Cross crawling out from under his bed and killing me.
It's everybody else. I didn't have an issue with, but her, I was genuinely sitting okay, can we move on?
Yeah, just wait until she's crawling like that as Dexter Lumis pulls himself around the ring on his hands the way he enters the ring, and you have both of those visions at once. It was such a good Raw episode, honestly. And that just makes me sad about how bad SmackDown is themed. Because I think we've said it 3 podcasts in a row, SmackDown hasn't had a ton of substance, and Raw is making these big, cohesive shows, wrapping the storylines through the entire 3 hours, and it's just so interesting how one show can be so much more on top of their game at the moment.
Well, I also think it's the superstars that they kind of have right now in Raw versus SmackDown.
Yeah. On paper, though, if you look at SmackDown, you've got AJ Styles, Cody Rhodes, Logan Paul, Randy Orton, Kevin Owens, but they can't pull them together in storylines that matter or make sense over there.
I don't think they have enough believable heels that could take the title from Cody, which is the issue that they're running into now. Because, Randy's not a heel right now. He can easily turn. One RKO, one episode, and that's it,
It's going to happen at Money in the Bank.
Yeah.
It's going to happen at Money in the Bank.
But no, overall, Raw, you had the Judgment Day throughout the whole episode again. You had Liv Morgan throughout the whole episode again, and it just brings the entire show together. I know we've kind of recapped completely out of order, but my biggest thing is Raw ended so well that I don't even know that I care about the rest of the show as much as I should.
I think the Jey Uso Finn Balor Rey Mysterio match hasn't been getting enough love. I thought Rey looked phenomenal. Um, it was kind of vintage 619 flying around the ring, and Finn Balor, Jey Uso, been at it before, so I thought it was a great match overall. And I guess technically that was the main event, but the main event really was the return afterwards.
Yeah, it was a fantastic match. I loved Ray's double, like 3 619s in a row, one on each of them, double one. For a second there, I was like, is Rey Mysterio about to win this?
Speaking of, I'm looking at the card now. Chad Gable actually got murdered twice on that show. First by Braun Strowman, and then actually, I guess, something to the head finished him off.
Yeah, I don't know if he was stabbed, shot, or just someone shoot on the side of his head, but they were really into that close-up of him in particular.
He was the one superstar where you were definitely like, yes, that's Chad Gable. Like, I think Carmelo Hayes was down there somewhere, but it was like they made a point to be like, he's dead.
Yeah, everybody said, I felt like I saw Gunther.
Did you?
I thought I saw Gunther too when I rewatched it. I definitely, from the very first watch, thought Carmelo Hayes was one of the people on the ground down there.
Yeah.
I've seen a bunch of things online saying Cody Rhodes was in it, and I'm like, where? People were like, yeah, Gunther, Cody Rhodes, and Triple H are all dead now, and I'm like, where did you see them at?
I was looking for Triple H, but I didn't see him at all.
What I absolutely love about it is that the whole Drew segment, in hindsight, was just a setup, just to show us what the gorilla position looked like before the chaos.
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure Triple H might be dead now. So if the quality goes downhill for a few weeks, they're working on trying to resuscitate him.
What do you think is the odds that this is all a dream sequence? Like, it didn't actually happen?
I'm really curious.
You're saying if WWE was just like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, like Chad Gable shows up next week like nothing happened.
Yeah.
I was wondering that yesterday. I didn't think of it in those words, but I was like, are they going to reference these people being hurt and injured and dead, or does the show just go on? I'm really curious to see how they spin that one. If Chad Gable has to take 6 months off to have his brain reconstructed, or
I think the Chad Gable story was kind of up after Otis sort of pushed him over. Like, I think they really are going to make him go away for a while until they figure something else out for him.
Yeah, and that's what I said before. Like, this was his time to get his actual title and have a reign, and I'm so surprised that he didn't get it, just because where does he go from here? I know he's...
The morgue? All right, man. So, John, I don't know if you want to stick around for this, but you're more than welcome. Mr. Steven and I here have our own episodes that we wrote to get through in the Wrestling is Fiction universe.
I shall stick around, but I do have something I want to say to you. And I just want to let you know that you could be a great booker, but you didn't pull the trigger on Tiffany Tom. Tiffany Stratton should be the WWE champion right now, the women's champion, and the tag team champions. I'm just saying, that's my opinion. But you had her lose the belt a couple weeks ago, and I personally was affected by that for a couple weeks. But
you just wait, John. Just wait.
He really has been. Like, we've been talking about it like a couple weeks in a row, where he's like, I still can't believe this happened. This was her time. This was her belt.
This Tiffany Stratton was an early draft pick for me when we started this for a reason.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil things, but I do want to say both of us, we went into this show not quite knowing what we were doing at all with podcasting in general, but I at least have ideas that I want to take through close to the end of the year. Most of my concrete storylines are through SummerSlam, and I'm probably going to flounder a little bit after that, but we've been talking about Money in the Bank. We've been talking about a few different ideas that'll probably get us through at least November in different ways. But yeah, I was shocked by Tiffany losing the belt too, honestly. He didn't tell me that was happening. But to be fair, he probably had a lot of plans for Tiffany Stratton before we even decided there was going to be a women's national championship. We
Yeah.
were. It was like the week before King of the Ring, and I texted Zach and I was like, "Hey, I have an idea."
I had this crisis where I really want Zoe Stark and Shayna Baszler booked differently, stronger than what they are on the WWE universe. So that was my way of handing Zoe something
I think
and
you
then
said
freeing
last.
up Tiffany Stratton for something.
I believe you said on last episode how the way Shayna Baszler's book needs to be discussed, and I agree with you 100% on that. If it
No
wasn't last
longer
week,
the
it
Yeah.
was the
queen of
week
the
before.
underground either.
Yeah, and you touched on it earlier. I feel like in the past, NXT wasn't necessarily like canon to the WWE stories, so they could have thrown people down there, had them lose a match, and it wouldn't affect SmackDown or Raw. But the last year, they've had so many crossovers and so many people going down there. It doesn't make sense to have Michin go down and lose and then have a big feud on the main roster. It doesn't make sense for the OC to go down there and lose. It's supposed to be dominant on the main roster. Like it feels like it should be a separate show, and it's kind of showing that in the way they're not giving these superstars the same treatment on both shows. It's supposed to be developmental. It's supposed to be people learning down there, but they're trying to make it their third brand so badly that it's showing a lot of inconsistency for some of these people.
I mean, if we have to be honest and pull the curtain back, we all know this is all an effort to keep the ratings on AEW down, but we don't speak about AEW here, so.
Yeah. Yeah. We don't speak about AEW unless we're saying that MJF is super fucking in. But yeah, like before we go into our shows, I do want to say our recap was kind of all over the place. But I'm so happy that Alba and Isla won the tag team championships. I was complaining the last week that they weren't booked in a way that made it seem believable they could win. They weren't given strong booking. They weren't built up as a tag team on the main roster. And then they went and got the win in Scotland, and I'm so happy for them, and I'm so happy as a fan of theirs. I thought, but as soon as they won that too, I was like, Damian Priest is retaining. Like every match that went on before Damian and Drew, I was like, that's one step closer to Drew losing. That right there is the nail in the coffin. There's no way he can win now.
They already won't let the one hometown team win. Not going to be another.
I was just gonna say, like, I know we're way over on time compared to normal, which I kind of expected, but just really quick recaps of some stuff we kind of glossed over was I thought Piper Niven looked really good in the match with Bayley. I would have liked to see her win because it was in Scotland and I like Piper Niven a lot, but she lost in a way that she still looks strong, and it's really strengthening Bayley's reign, giving her an actual good match like that. I think that's something that, like Io Sky before Bayley didn't have really good defenses that made her seem like a strong champion. And then just all throughout Raw, this Liv Morgan saga with Judgment Day is just incredible. I said it before that I read online, but I agree. Dominic Mysterio is the world's strongest man. He may have also been the world's most scared man when he was trying to unzip his vest from her, but what a good storyline.
So your Piper Niven's thing, I felt she had a chance because at this point in Bayley's career, does she really need a championship? I mean, Bayley's legacy is secured. Like, I get it. I don't think they really have anyone else they want right now. But yeah, Piper looked great in the build-up and in that match. So I hope they run it back with her personally.
I feel like Bailey's in the same predicament as Damian Priest. Somebody got to get fed to Nia Jax, and why not go with the baby face? You know, so
Yeah, Bayley feels both like a strong champion and also a transitional champion. Because, like you said, she doesn't necessarily need that title, but at the same time, she kind of does. Like, of the four horsewomen, I feel like she's the one that gets overlooked the most. She had a great run with Damage Control as their leader, but I think that giving her this current title run and giving her a strong match with Piper is really making sure people remember how good she is.
And well, there's also the potential for Charlotte Flair to get thrown into the mix here eventually when she comes back. So,
Yeah.
which, speaking
Yeah,
of which, I don't think either of us drafted her to our rosters.
I don't think we did.
I forgot she existed, if I'm being honest. She's
Honestly, same, and I don't think if anyone would be surprised if she just popped up on either of our shows and was like, hey, I'm taking the title this week just because I can.
no, that's what she does. That's real life
Yeah.
booking.
My question to both of you is: does the Wyatt Six join your universe?
We kind of talked about that a little bit. Neither of us had plans for them to join it. You'll see a little bit of something in my show tonight that'll both make you wonder if they will or if they won't, and kind of clear up some storylines that started on the first episode of our podcast. Going to be an interesting SmackDown, so we can get into our show now if you want to do that.
Hit it.
Unless either of you have any more last thoughts for our recap.
I don't want to touch the Wyatt Six because I don't want to take my mind to that place.
Yeah, that was my thing. Is I don't want to not do justice to Bray Wyatt by using, like, I know we're obviously using WWE's sandbox and toy box here, but that feels like a different level that I'm not ready to aspire to. At least not on that dark end of it.
Yeah.
I understand that you don't want to kill people. I get it.
I didn't say that. If Dominic Mysterio doesn't pull out a gun in the next year on my show,
maybe the way he gets to live.
But to start off, so we're gonna go into my SmackDown right now, and my show's gonna open up with Dominic Mysterio's music hitting, and he comes out accompanied by Rhea Ripley, and he comes out to the ring, and remember at Clash of the Castle, he walked away, he let Jay get hit. Him and Rhea come into the ring, they both got their microphones. She's not ready to wrestle, she's here just for support, basically. And Dom gets on the mic and he starts off with just, you know what? I don't like the direction Damian Priest is going. I talked to Mommy about this. She agrees with me right now. While they do have a bond together, her and Damian, he's going in a direction that we can't approve. I may have left Judgment Day because of Damian. I wanted to be on Rhea's side still, but I don't think there's a Judgment Day left. I don't think there's any group left that we belong to anymore. And that's why I'm entering myself into the Money in the Bank match. I talked to Nick Aldis after I walked away from Damian last week. I'm not even going to have to qualify for it. I am the first person in this match. I'm getting that briefcase this year. And with Mommy's blessing, I am going to become a champion. And that's just how that starts off. It cuts to break after that. And it comes back to the first singles match. But if you have any comments on that first before we move on.
That's who I'm picking to win.
Dominic Mysterio?
Yep. That's who I'm picking to win.
Well, that's good because he's the only person that we know of that's in it. We haven't talked about anyone else.
We really haven't. Right now we've got Dominic Mysterio and like 6 ladders, and he's just going to have to pick one of them to climb up.
We're going to have a champion with a mullet. That's it.
But my big thing with this booking is that in my universe, Damian Priest has played more of the babyface, and it just kind of naturally happened. He's been teaming up with Jay, and Dominic's not ready to go babyface. He's enjoying being the bad boy here. But it comes back into what's announced as a number 1 contenders match for the Women's National Championship. Winner of this match will get a title shot a couple weeks from now. Kind of undecided. I know Zach has a title match coming up on his show, so they don't even know quite who the opponent will be, but it's going to be Zelina Vega versus Kairi Sane with Damage Control. And I'm kind of mixing things up because Dakota Kai promised Io that Damage Control would make a shift. They would be a little stronger after she's taken some tough losses to Bayley. And so they're pushing Kairi Sane to go for a singles belt. And it's a pretty back and forth match at first. Zelina Vega is putting on a good showing, but the LWO didn't come out with it. Damage Control is out there. They're not quite interfering, but they are causing distractions outside of the ring. And after about a 10-minute match back and forth, Zelina Vega gets hit with the Insane Elbow, and Kairi Sane gets that win. And in a couple weeks, she'll be getting a title shot. Damage Control's looking for redemption. They're looking for a couple of wins just to kind of build their momentum back up. They've had some friction, but they're not ready to break apart. Zach, you have a women's national championship match on your Raw, right?
I do.
Yeah, so whoever wins that one will be facing Kairi Sane in a couple of weeks. And then that comes back to the tag team championship match, actually. So DIY comes out, and they're actually going to go up against Chase U. Andre Chase got a surprising win last week, and he pushed that to become a challenger for the tag titles. And DIY, they're okay with just putting those titles on the line as much as they can. In the Wrestling is Fiction universe, you're going to see these titles defended more regularly than you do on television. And they're up for this, but they get kind of overwhelmed by Chase U pretty quickly. Chase U, actually, they're tagging in and out, they're keeping themselves fresh, and Johnny Gargano's mostly in the ring with them. He's taken some good hits. He ends up rolling out of the ring, and while he was out of the ring, Tommaso Ciampa had unbuckled the turnbuckle, and so the ref is back turned, trying to rebuckle it, and that's when Tommaso Ciampa goes under the ring and pulls out a kendo stick, and he hits both members of Chase U that are in the match with the kendo stick. Throws Andre Chase back in the ring. Johnny Gargano gets in there, waits for him to get up, hits him with a super kick, and he gets the pinfall to retain the titles. Johnny, he was getting overwhelmed, and he was kind of okay taking a little bit of a lower route this time around.
I love Ciampa in that role.
Yeah, I've kind of laid off of it the last couple of weeks, but this whole title reign has kind of been him being a little bit of the darker member, kind of given a little bit more out of sight hits with weapons. He's doing whatever he can to keep these titles, and Johnny's just along for the ride right now.
Do we see a return of the Blackheart?
We'll have to see what happens. I think in the next couple of weeks, a lot of things will become a little more clear with their storyline too. So then it comes back from another break, and Liv Morgan comes out to the ring. She had that match with Bayley, ended in a double countout, and she's not here for that. She's got that no DQ match coming up with Bayley, but she comes out there and she's like, you know what? I don't know if that's enough. I want this to be an Iron Man match. No DQ Iron Man. I want the two of us to go to the limits. I'm taking this title no matter what. Bayley, you've escaped me for too long. You've had too many little workarounds. You've had distractions, and the two of us are going to really hash this out. And that title match is going to be next week on SmackDown. And then we come back from that to round 2 of another match that happened last week. Jay's going to get another match with Gunther. The two of them get in the ring. Last week was really distracted with Judgment Day coming after Jay. Gunther was fine with that, but he wants a win. He hasn't really had a lot to do, and he wants a win. So he comes out and really just lays into Jay immediately. He's chopping him. Jay really can't get on the offense there. And Gunther really just overpowers Jay in this match and ends up getting a pretty quick 3 count on Jay. After the match, unfortunately, Ludwig Kaiser comes out as well, and he's literally just beating down Jay because that's kind of just Jay's thing lately, is just really getting attacked by anyone and everyone who wants to be involved in his matches. And Damian doesn't come out for the save. He lets, Jay doesn't really have a ally in him, and this kind of just shows that. They've been fighting against Judgment Day together, but this isn't a Judgment Day problem. This is just Gunther being angry and taking it out on him. So it cuts to break with Jay being escorted back, like being held up by some officials. Gunther gets a win, Jay gets beat down and realizes he doesn't have the friends that he hoped. Zach looks so like broken and sad inside right now.
Because it's what happens to Jay in the WWE universe too.
It is. I promised I have a plan for Jay. I don't know if people are gonna like my plan for Jay, but there is a plan. I promise you, he's not just taking a beating for the hell of it. And this was a pretty short SmackDown, so we're going into one more promo before our main event. And the next promo is Logan Paul coming out. He's got his U.S. title that he won back. He's getting in the ring, and he's like, you know what? I don't know if this one title's enough for me. I kind of want to be in the Money in the Bank match as well. I think I should be a double champion. This is my time. Put me in the match. And that's when Nick Aldis comes down the ramp, and he's like, Logan, shut up. We're not doing this with you. You don't get to call your own shots every week. Yeah, you may have won your title back, but that doesn't mean that you get to go up to the next one. There are people in line. So next week we're going to have a fatal 4-way number 1 contenders match for your opponent at Money in the Bank to defend your title. So Logan gets his dreams of being a double champ shot down, and next week we'll see 4 superstars fight for the right to battle him.
Conversation did not go how we wanted. Walked in hoping for a title shot, ended up with an opponent.
Yeah, he's not getting his way the way he's used to in the Wrestling is Fiction universe. He might have his title back, but they're not letting him play by his own rules anymore. If he wants to be a WWE superstar, he's gonna go through it on here. And then that takes us to our main event, which is Candice LeRae and Indi Hartwell versus Jade and Bianca for the Women's Tag Team Championship. They've been on their mean streak and got their opportunity to fight for these titles. And Jade and Bianca come out pretty strong, as you'd assume, but they've been out of sync the last few weeks. They've kind of been struggling a little bit, but they're pulling it together. Indi Hartwell starts off the match, and she's kind of on the defensive a little bit. She tags in Candice, and Candice honestly is a little bit more than they expected. She's a little bit quicker. She's getting under them quicker because they're a little bit bigger than her, so she's kind of just using her size to get around them. She has a couple springboards to knock them off their feet. But Jade and Bianca, they're tagging each other in and out a little more than they have been. They're staying a little fresher. And it gets to the point where Candice and Indi both get out of the ring together, and they're just on the sidelines, just kind of recovering. And that's when Jade goes over to them, and she goes to chase them down, and out from under the ring pops Dexter Lumis. Dexter Lumis comes out, and he's just got his gloves on, no shirt. He's just staring at her, just no words, just gets in her face, gets in between her and Candice and Indi. And that's when Indi Hartwell sneaks around him and just gives a big boot to Jade. Bianca comes around from the other side of the ring. Dexter gets in her face as well. He's not touching her. He's not doing anything to technically interfere. He's just kind of creeping him out a little bit.
Creepy.
And that's when Candice hits Bianca in the back as well, and they get her back in the ring. She's a little disoriented and dazed, and Candice hits what's been her finisher the last few episodes, and she puts a crossface on Bianca, and Bianca ends up tapping out. And Candice and Indi take the women's tag titles over to the SmackDown show. And Dexter Lumis crawls into the ring and just kind of stands there next to them. He doesn't have his hands up. He's just there.
You took my titles.
I did take your titles. This is them winning the tag titles this way is one of the first ideas I had when we started this podcast.
Yeah, unfortunately, that was also a reason I was upset Jade and Bianca actually lost.
Yeah, I've had this plan for so long. And I've had the Dexter Lumis reveal planned for this long from when I drafted him. And they lose their titles, and Dexter comes back the same week I finally get to pull this off for my story.
Can confirm. It's in the notes.
They were listening to you. That's what happened.
Yeah. See, like, I drafted all of them specifically for this storyline. and for the storyline that'll take us through probably SummerSlam with them. And WWE has someone outside my window looking at my notebook as I'm writing it. I think I'm gonna have to start like writing in like hieroglyphics or something they can't understand, because we had all that planned and we had just talked about injured superstars, how we wanted to keep their injuries, but I had to bring Rhea back. It's been too long. And we had
Well,
that conversation right before Seth reappeared.
Yeah, I was literally going to bring Seth back because I was like, I'm tired of waiting. Well, now he's really back, so...
Yeah, so for everyone who listened last week, Zach was literally like, I'm not going to wait a year for Seth to come back if these rumors are true. And then Seth was like, don't worry, I got you, buddy. I'm coming back right now.
Yeah, Seth Rollins, loyal Wrestling is Fiction listener. That's not a lie.
But yeah, that's our SmackDown. It was a little bit of a quicker one just because I knew we would go so long on our recap, so I didn't put as much into it. But that main event, I wanted to flesh out a little more because I've had that idea of Dexter Lumis popping up since the beginning.
All right, I guess I'll go. So this is the Raw that will be airing on June 24th. So Raw opens up. Becky Lynch's music drops. Remember last week, she was kind of assaulted by Tiffany Stratton and Nia Jax during their match.
Yes.
So she comes out. She does her Becky Lynch thing where basically she says if they wanted to fight, they should have just asked. Instead, they attack me. So Nia Jax comes out, kind of, does her slow walk to the ring, does her Becky, no one's afraid of you. I've beaten you before, and I'll do it again. And Becky Lynch gets in her face, and that's when Tiffany Stratton kind of sneaks behind her and knocks Becky Lynch down, and her and Nia kind of just start beating Becky Lynch down, like stomping her, throwing her in the corner, hitting her. Refs are rushing down. They're trying to break it up. Next thing you know, Lyra Valkyria rushes down there to help out Becky Lynch. They get in a brawl. Refs finally break it up, and we go to commercial.
I really like what you're building here with these ones. Like, I'll love anything you do with Tiffany Stratton involved in it.
I'm expecting by next week she wins the WWE Championship. So
perhaps, John. I knew this opening would make you happy, though. Anyway, we come back and we have a singles match, kind of from last week. Ilja Dragunov and Tama Tonga are going to go one-on-one. Remember the Bloodline and KO and Sheamus and Ilja had that 6-man match last week. And this is back and forth like you would expect. Tama Tonga kind of being that enforcer role. But, Ilja can kind of get down and dirty like that too. He's the Mad Dragon. He's not going to be intimidated by Tama Tonga. And both guys are really going at it. And as Bloodline does, it is interrupted by the Bloodline. Solo Sikoa kind of does a slow walk down there. Tongaloa sort of comes out the crowd, distracts the ref. And Solo is going to try to slip a chair in the ring for Tama Tonga to use, but KO and Sheamus seem to be predicting this. They also come out of the stands and start fighting Solo, and Tama Tonga's kind of in the middle of the ring like, what is going on? I can't believe this is happening. Ilja takes advantage. He rolls him up, gets the 3 count, and he slips out the ring, and KO, Sheamus, and Ilja kind of get the hell out of Dodge. Bloodline's kind of left stunned in the ring that Tama Tonga lost.
I didn't say this before, but I hate Solo Sikoa so much.
Yeah. I'm glad you're not the only one.
Honestly, I think I do too. This is going back not just to your show, but when he came out when Cody retained against AJ, and he was just kind of awkwardly standing next to him smiling, he looked so dumb.
He looked like gloves. I'm telling you, he needs to give up the gloves.
It's the gloves, and just the way he was smiling at Cody made him look like he was like a 12-year-old that someone just like let into the arena.
I hated him with that stupid hoodie. I hated it when they came out with that stupid hoodie. Like I didn't know it was him all those times, and I'm like, just now you got this stupid suit. Like,
All right, back to our regularly scheduled programming. We got the championship match that was mentioned for the women's national championship. And this kind of starts out weird when we came back from commercial. They show Lyra Valkyria sort of in the medical room getting her ankle taped up. And she probably heard it in that brawl with Tiffany and Nia. So she says she's good. She wants her title shot. So she's going to go out there. Unfortunately for her, doesn't end up being a good idea. Zoe Stark sort of target that ankle the whole match. And, Lyra's chance was her speed to try to stop Zoe Stark's power, but she can't really move that well. And Zoe Stark is kind of just thrown around the ring, hits her Z360, and successfully gets her first title defense. So
Poor Lyra.
Poor Lyra. The Irish are not having a good time on this show right now.
Yeah, I like the way you're booking Zoe, though, because in universe, I don't know how much I like her just because she has such crappy booking. Like, she should be strong, she should be good, and they're not letting her be. But you're making her seem like a much stronger wrestler.
Trish Stratus push, and then they didn't do anything.
her and Shayna Baszler is in the same situation.
Yeah.
Real quick, that was the one thing we didn't touch on the recap was they had the weird moment where they were like, we're going to come after your tag titles, but not yet because we both want to be in Money in the Bank first. Like, the tag titles are their backup plan, and they're really not making those titles feel important at all.
All right, so we cut to a Sami Zayn promo. He just recently lost his Intercontinental title to LA Knight. He's kind of talking about, I lost, but like I do in my career, I'm going to move on and I'm going to earn my Intercontinental title back. And this is when he's interrupted by Santos Escobar. And Santos earned a title shot last week, kind of coming out and challenging LA Knight, and LA Knight gave it to him. And he's like, Sammy, you're a has-been. You had your shot. It's my shot now. I'm going to beat LA Knight. And Sami Zayn goes, well, if you fight, why don't you fight me for the match against LA Knight for the right to fight him right here, right now? And Santos agrees, and Pierce makes it official. So they're about to go right now, cuts the commercial, it comes back to their match. It goes just as you think. I mean, Sami Zayn and Santos, pretty technical guys. They're no one's really gaining an advantage. They're wrestling. They're getting a few strikes in. Santos, though, he's really getting frustrated. And right when he looks like he's going to kind of lose it, the LDF comes to ringside. And just as you kind of predict, they distract the ref. And this gives Santos a chance. He hits Sammy with a low blow and hits his finisher, gets the 3 count and wins. And he'll still be facing LA Knight for a title shot down the road.
I'm so glad that we broke up LDF and LWO just because I like the way that you're starting to use them.
Yeah. I think that's kind of what they need. Santos is the leader of this group, and he doesn't really get good bookings in WWE. So, yeah. So,
I like that your factions feel formidable. They're starting to feel formidable.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because in WWE, they split them in WWE as well, but they still have just Andrade and LDF kind of having some friction just because they can only be involved in feuds with other Latino wrestlers, apparently. So I like that you're mixing it up a little bit.
And then we cut to a number 1 contenders match for the tag team titles. Creed Brothers and Pretty Deadly. Kind of younger tag teams, going to get their shot. And this match isn't very close. Creed Brothers kind of just overpower Pretty Deadly, who seem a little bit rusty. It's been a while since they've been in tag team action. And I mean, Brutus and Julius are really just showing off their strength, throwing them around, their wrestling moves. And short match, probably about 5 minutes. They get to cover and win, and they're going to get a shot at the Awesome Truth.
That's the tag team that I'm shocked you've had with the belt for as long as they've had it.
So is Steven.
Yeah, I've told him this multiple times. I'm shocked they're still champions in WWE, and I'm shocked that Zach has kept them as champions so long.
The Miz and R-Truth deserve it.
Yeah, and I like the way you write both of them. You make them very entertaining, and it seems very, very in character for them as well too.
Wow. All right, then we get our boy, the visionary, Seth freaking Rollins, makes his Raw return. He's cutting a promo. He talks about being back, how he missed us, and he's coming back. He wants a shot at Cody Rhodes eventually for the title, and this is when he's interrupted by Drew McIntyre, who does his Drew McIntyre thing and says, "You think you can just walk in here and demand a title shot? Because I've been sitting here fighting while you've been at home sitting on your ass, recovering, whatever it is you've been doing, but you're not going to skip the line in front of me." And Drew's in the ring, and then he's interrupted by CM Punk. And CM Punk comes in and says, "Drew, you shouldn't be making demands to anyone. You haven't even beat me, and you think you're going to get a title shot." To which Seth is kind of taking a step back. He goes, "Well, why don't we settle this next week then?" And Drew and CM Punk agree, and it gets made official by Adam Pearce. Triple threat match between the three of them next week on Raw.
Nice.
And he didn't guarantee a title shot to whoever wins or anything. This is kind of just a blood feud right now.
I like you mixing up the actual WWE storyline by adding in Seth.
Well,
I'm sorry. Sorry, his return was spoiled by his return.
Period of time where Seth and CM Punk hated each other just as much as Drew and CM Punk, and then it kind of went away with Seth when he got hurt. But I'm renewing it.
Good. The more hatred, the better.
Cuts backstage, and we see AJ Styles, who hasn't been able to beat Cody Rhodes. In fact, hasn't had a win in a couple weeks, and he's in Pierce's office, and he's saying, "I'm not going to ask to get another title shot. I know I'm in the back of the line for that, but there's a new Intercontinental Champion, and I want a shot at him." To which LA Knight storms into Pierce's office, and it was like, "AJ, get in line. A bunch of people want me. You don't get to just make demands. We've already been through this. We've had a rivalry. You know you can't beat me." And Pierce says, "Hang on, we'll settle this next week. AJ, I'm going to put you in a match with Santos Escobar and Sami Zayn, and we are going to decide LA Knight's next opponent."
Poor Santos, just getting his title shot pushed further and further back. But it seems like it should be on brand for him, where he seems like such a slimy character sometimes.
Yeah, I don't think Pierce likes him too much in our universe.
Yeah, so I'm not upset about the way you're turning this story.
So we got two pretty big triple threat matches next week. And this takes us to our main event, which is Solo Sikoa and Tonga Loa versus Kevin Owens and Sheamus. And this match never really gets started. KO and Sheamus technically win, but it's on a DQ because after a couple minutes, Solo almost immediately just pulls a chair and is getting ready to hit KO, and the ref catches him, and he's like, "You can't fucking do that," and he DQs him. So Solo hits the ref with the chair instead, and the brawl is on, like we say. Those two are going at it. Tama Tonga, Ilja Dragunov kind of come down the stage at the same time. They're going at it on the stage. They're in the crowd. They're kind of everywhere. Ref, security are coming out, and they're breaking this up, and that's kind of where Raw cuts out.
Your bloodline is better than the actual bloodline.
Well, I I want to make the Bloodline look strong, but I also want it to be known that they can lose. And that's my problem with the way they're booked right now. They're like, they don't lose, but none of those in the particular group feel that strong. Like, what has Tama Tonga and Tongaloa done in the WWE? Solo Sikoa, for that matter, too.
They kind of just stand there and go, ah.
Like, I mean, I guess Solo beat John Cena, which is the one thing he can hang his hat on. But like,
yeah, but at this point, everyone's beat John Cena now.
He beat
yeah, that's true.
he beat John Cena and then lost every match for like a year after that.
I watch all of my SmackDown and Raw on a live stream that someone does, and every time the Bloodline comes out, he just goes, ah. Just every time, even if they were just on screen and they just cut from them and go back, he just does that every single time. So I can't take him seriously now.
Yeah, why does Solo scream so much?
Because he's not allowed to talk. I just wish that they were booked better, because
like
they have an opportunity. They have an opportunity to make them seem good in universe and give them a dominant run while Roman's gone, but they're kind of just wasting it and making it seem, I don't know, it's just such a repeat of the last year, but without Roman.
Yeah, they're wasting their time on the same feuds with Kevin Owens, like we already talked about. But
yeah, and Paul Heyman just needs to get away.
I think Paul Heyman is what makes them interesting right now.
He's all they have going for him, but poor guy, he's so scared.
All right, fellas,
just waiting.
Any last thoughts before we get the heck out of here?
No, it was go ahead.
I guess Tiffany's in a better place for now. I definitely will get on Twitter and complain about this, but
no, that was a lot of recap this week and kind of some rush shows from us, but I think it was fun. Really glad that you got on here with us, John. It was nice having someone else to mix up our thoughts with.
No problem. Anytime.
Yeah, and shout them out again. Joncast podcast. Like and subscribe just like you would for us. Great recap. Seems like Wrestling is Fiction is moving in the right direction in our storylines. And as always, going to hand it over to Steven to shout out socials, and then we won't make you guys hear us talk anymore.
Yeah, before I do that, though, John, you've been listening to us since we started. The one thing we don't really get that the WWE crowds get is live feedback, and just give us your thoughts on our show. Like, not the recaps, but like our actual Wrestling is Fiction universe before we go.
So as I said about Zach, my only problem is that, Tiffany Stratton just doesn't have all the belts yet. But aside from that, I do enjoy just, I feel like on Zach's side, he has more of a slow build with his titles and what he decides to do with his belts. And I really do like that on his side. Your side, I feel like a title changes, it can happen at any moment. Doesn't have to be a PLE or anything like that. We could just be listening to a show, and this person wins a title. And it's like, I like you guys have different cadences on what you decide to do, so it doesn't feel like the same. And otherwise, like I said in the middle of the show, I do like that you guys are trying to give factions more of a presence, like make them feel like an actual faction, not like we get in the universe of just, we have the Legado del Fantasma, who's supposed to be something fierce, but not really doing much with that. But yeah, that's pretty much what I like so far. I like the way you guys tell your stories and definitely try to make something different than we have on TV.
Yeah, thank you. We started a lot of this just because we were bored one day and talk about wrestling anyways. And we didn't know what we were doing. We had an idea, and we just, honestly, the way this episode went is how most of them go. We hit the record button. We hope we have a full conversation that we don't plan out beforehand. We both have a notebook or paper full of our match ideas, but a lot of it's just, we've known each other for how long now? 12 years, and we're used to talking to each other, so we just basically just hit record on a phone call. So I'm glad you like listening to us, and I'm glad our stories aren't too disappointing for you most of the time when Tiffany. But yeah, thanks for being on. John from the Joncast podcast. He's on Spotify, YouTube. I know YouTube is kind of your main go-to right now.
Yes.
Yeah, and then I found him on TikTok as well, which is he posts some stuff there. That's where we chat a lot. And obviously my TikTok, Instagram, Twitter is all at DarkStarShady. Shoot me a message there, follow me. We can talk about the show, talk about video games, talk about Pokemon cards, whatever you want. And thanks for listening to another week of Wrestling is Fiction.